partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 315. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Anvil AppWorks. Their Dealer Connect CRMI app with integrated inventory management is an affordable Salesforce-based solution for your dealership. Create connected customer experience and transform how you work today. I have Jason Hoult back here with me, and Jason is flying around making things happen here, doing all the fun stuff over at Anvil. What's going on over there today, Jason?
You know, we're really preparing for year end. We've had a great fourth quarter so far, working with several dealers, and the inventory piece. The dealers that are winning are the ones that are really managing their inventory well, and it's really becoming apparent. So, really happy to talk to you today about some of the things we've got going and share. We've got a guest on here as well. We invited one of our customers to join us and share some of his experience and going on 5 years with us, doing different sales activities. So we've brought Jason Nickel on, Interior Region Sales Manager for Prairie Coast Equipment, which is up in British Columbia, Canada. And I'd like to hear from him about some of what he's got going on up there for his sales team. And the application we're going to be talking about is what we call Sales Pipeline. And it's our visual pipeline manager. And it's how we bring, some order to the chaos, as you talked about right there at the beginning. So that's what we're looking forward to today.
Pipelines. They're not important. No one needs a pipeline.
Absolutely not. Revenue.
Mr. Nickel, how you doing today, sir?
Guys, hey, thanks for having me on today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on, man. This is exciting stuff. I love talking to dealers about dealer stuff. So this is going to be a nerd session for me and a nerd session for the rest of the dealerships out there. So, man, looking forward to this, man. Okay, so pipeline. I work with my guys quite a bit on pipeline strength, pipeline building, pipeline accountability, where you at on deals, how do you tracking those deals, all those kind of things. I guess talk about that a little bit. How's your team use that, and how do you use that as a manager managing those teams?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Casey. It's pipelines. The key word is that pipeline. Everybody hears it all. Blah, blah, blah. But it's very important, I think, with any business nowadays, trying to make things easier for their sales team or their team, whatever they're trying to establish a pipeline with. So teaming up with Jason Hoult and Anvil here a few years ago, we've created this pipeline for that main reason, just to make it easier for our salespeople and myself to help them, as we call, forge ahead with each deal that they start with a new one.
Yep. So one of my favorite movies is Moneyball, and not because of baseball. I'm hardly a baseball fan, but the whole point of that movie is how they use data to go out and win more games and all that kind of stuff. And I love data and everything that comes along with that, and because you can glean so much from that. And there's a scene in the movie where I made my sales guys watch this, and they begrudgingly, entertained me for a minute as they did that, But there's a scene in there where they're sitting down with all the scouts and they're going through this, and they need to take Jason Giambi and some other people and figure out how they're going to get so many RBIs and so many hits, and this, that, and the other thing. And they start going through the data thing, and Jonah Hill's character is talking about what it is that they're doing, and they end up taking, so many players, to get to that have a lesser batting average to get to this one guy's batting average so they get the same thing. And I equated that back to my guys is that all we care about is getting on base. That's all we need to do. Get on base, get on base, get on base. And I look at getting on base as every appraisal that you go out and do for a used piece of equipment trade in, that's getting on base. And sooner or later, you're going to have enough base hits. You're going to get all the way around. You're going to score a run and sell something. So when you're looking at your guys and using this pipeline manager that you've got here, how are you having that conversation about, getting on base? How are you having that conversation of keeping that pipeline full, and what's that mean, and what's that look like to your organization?
One of my favorite movies as well, Moneyball. So in relating to that, how they get a guy on first base is we break out our industry in our AOR and the total industry dollars that are happening in within our AORs. So the pipeline has helped us break that out for each of our salespeople working within that AOR to show us by generating a new quote, the volume, then every quote moving towards more volume, more sales leads to allow us to target and capture more of the AOR and even increase the AOR activity.
Mm-hmm.
So from both sides, they're helping us and the managers are helping them by outlining what is out there and then them capturing it and starting it for us to help them move it along.
Yep.
I think, Jason, one of the other things for you to think about there is the visibility.
Yeah.
Moneyball is a great example there. Without the stats, they wouldn't have been able to have that conversation. And what the pipeline is doing, as you said, it's breaking it out, but it's also showing you're able to just one click see what deals are there, whose they are. Mm-hmm. And that goes a long way as well as having that visibility to the pipeline.
Yep.
Important thing is the close date. So it could happen 8 months from now. So they're able to select that will manually and then automatically put that in a task form to remember that this is a close date. But the other important one within the pipeline is the forage ahead. So that's the next step in the deal. So after they have that conversation, then we can help them with orders, stuff that's already on order, convert them to retail, and then just really strengthen the communication between the salesperson and the customer, which I've really seen huge improvement in the last year plus with our sales staff and our customers.
Yep.
And that feedback is important because as you're doing that, as you've got deals and you're juggling them, keeping that organized, just seeing what you have in there and where you're at with it and being able to, get back up to speed on it real fast and have that conversation and not lose track of it and realize a week later you haven't contacted that customer back, goes a long way and separates you from your competition.
Yeah. When it gets hit out to the outfield, there's always that chance you're going to drop the ball, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Once you got on base, and you don't want to forget about it or drop it for sure.
That's for sure. Yep. So one thing about
one quote.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, one thing I share that Jason talks about before is just that whole visibility of knowing how many deals you've got right now. There's a lot of folks who can't answer that question at all, and it changes that conversation with your salesperson from what are you working on, right? The typical sales manager first question to I already know what you're working on. Let's talk about this one, and this one. Because I see this one needs some help. And Jason, your quote back from when we were first working on this was really has turned you into a coach because you can do that, add value instead of being an admin who's just kind of bouncing things back and forth.
Yeah. And it's allowed our sales team and our sales staff members to be more of an account manager. They manage what they started, and managers, we do what we can to help them secure the unit that's on order to a retail, get it to the sold on order column, or assist to get it to the sold column, and so they can move on to the next one too, right? So I think it's benefited both parties on my team anyway, for sure.
So one thing I like about pipelines too is I'm really big on expediting the washout cycle as fast as possible, right? I want to go from selling a new piece to the first trade all the way to the complete washout. If I could do that in one day, that would be amazing. But it's a struggle in organizations to do that, especially I think in bigger organizations too, as you start looking at the magnitude of equipment that comes across there. But the one beautiful thing about a pipeline is that if you're doing your pipeline correctly, you should be able to look and see, when I take this piece in on trade, I know who the next people are going to go. I don't have a digital version of this yet, but I've got a giant whiteboard that's a magnetic whiteboard with little strips of people's names on it of here's the trades that are coming, and then we start on these little magnetic strips, start writing other people's names on that, where they're going to go, who we're going to take them to, and lo and behold, it makes a plan. I know it's crazy to think like that if you draw those things out, how well that plan comes together. When you're looking at your washout cycle, since you started using this pipeline manager, how has that affected your washout cycle, and have you seen a movement in your turn that you didn't previously see before you had it?
Yeah, great question. And absolutely, and I gotta have a few examples of that. Part of my job is increase equipment turns, right? The more you turn equipment turns, obviously it's the better job everyone's doing, not only for your dealer, your branch, your company, but your manufacturers as well, right? So I had an example of a sales guy that worked for me for a while, and he was a notebook guy, and every time he would take great notes, he'd write it down, turn the page, write down, turn the page, write down, turn the page. Well, the third page back never got followed through, right? Always moving forward, never really going back, which, part of this pipeline that Anvil, Jason and his team helped us establish has really helped that individual remember just those things, right? And it's just a nice little email. Hey, I haven't forgotten about you. We just had this come in. It's going through our shop. Once it's ready, I'd like to present it to you. And a lot of times he already has it pre-sold. So it's great to see how much that's helped that person succeed.
Yeah. It's the more times you turn it, it's the easiest way to generate cash in your business. You know what I mean? Just keep that money flowing and keep that next asset moving, especially if you start looking at, I remember when I first started in this business, it was, if you had 25 million in inventory as a whole, you were doing okay. Now you might have 25 million in just one category. So, I mean, it's a big deal to really pay attention and know what you're going to do with the system is going to flow through the system.
Wow.
Jason, I remember one thing when we got started, how we're automatically emailing that trades created yesterday. So as new stock units come in and trades get there, everyone gets that report every day in their inbox automatically. So there's no effort at all to sharing and communicating what's new. And I remember the quote early on, I think it was the Prairie region, but they said they noticed the coffee talk in the morning or the water cooler talk was different once they started getting that, because the sales team would get together and say, hey, Charlie, I saw that you had a deal going with a a certain trade in, and tell me about that. I want to move it through. And you still seeing that, Jason?
Oh yeah. We just did one this week. Tractor coming into the Peace region that a customer in our region needs. And before anybody else even knows what's going on, it's already done. So it impresses, it helps everybody, right? It helps the branch bringing it in. It helps the customer that needs it. And it's helping the company. And that's our main goal, is to keep that rolling.
So it's not like anybody was hiding it before, but it was just hard to communicate that across, 20, 30, 40 salespeople. And now with the automation, it becomes easy. Just everybody sees it and can scan it without anybody having to talk about it.
And I think that's a key thing for your staff and your company, is try to make things easier for your staff to do their jobs, or make their days more pleasant. And I know it's a new thing, and I know it's a new system, and I know there's going to be some challenges, and I know there's going to be some are going to pick it up quicker than others, but it's for those that have, it's really made their ease of doing business a lot easier that I have found, and their stress levels calmer and everything, right? I mean, we're in a busy pace industry, and it's can never happen fast enough some of the times. But if you're actively managing your visual pipeline, you are truly staying ahead of it.
Yep, that's very true. So one last question about this topic here, and then I'll ask you a couple other hard-hitting questions here on the Moving Iron podcast. But there will be some when you're looking at, okay, so from an industry perspective, and as long as I've been doing this, this has kind of been my opinion of the industry and how we look at things. We start with what we're going to sell new first, and we're worried about that budget process and what that looks like, and then we go through that process, and then we were like, okay, cool, we've got all these trade-ins now. We'll worry about those when they come in. No, we'll worry about that when we get there. From using this pipeline tool and using with your staff and the buy-in that you've gotten, have you become more proactively looking at your trade-ins versus reactively looking at them compared to what you may have done 5 years ago?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, in the reason being, it's a little quicker. It's all right there. It's visible, and it's options for the customers, right? I mean, we've all seen inflation go up a little bit. It's always great to sell the new, but that's not always going to be the outcome. So having that option to review your customer within that pipeline to move it one way or the other has been beneficial for sure.
Yeah,
it's helped our used equipment sales as well.
Yeah,
I know, Jason, you've had some impact with the some of the special program tractors as well, where you get a fleet and you have to turn them and work them through, or you've got some unusual machines up there, and some of the narrow cabs and the vineyard tractors, and as well, and having some visibility to who owns those.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah. And the advantage within the quote, you have your quote, you can show the customer the photos, you can show them the service estimates we've done to it. We can answer all their questions without having to drive back and then prepare it. It's all, whether they want to do it through their mobile, through their iPad, through their Android system, through their computer. I mean, having those tools to be successful is, I think, key in our performance. And it's turned a lot of our, I went through some old school sales training, and you were either an order taker or a field marketer. In some classes that I sat in, if you were a sales guy, you definitely didn't want to be pointed out as an order taker.
All right. Yeah.
Well, and one thing, Casey, I know in some of what we've talked about and what Jason's doing there is having your pipeline and your CRM and your inventory together. They go through a process with their customers, and what product lines do they buy from us? Do they have a budget this year? Are they an every 2-year customer? Are they a forage customer? Are they a dairy customer? That's all right in their CRM as well. So Jason had a process with his team where they were working their best customers and filling out their CRM. But that's the effect of what you've got on your whiteboard is who are my 2-year roll customers? Who are people who buy sprayers? Who are my dairies? Who are my commercial hay producers? Who are the vineyards? So when Jason gets a narrow cab tractor in, he can pull up the vineyards and see, well, who's a 2-year cycle customer that is a vineyard? And that work pays off because they're all connected to each other.
Yep.
Yeah. Some guys like to run so many hours and that's all, and they want to keep that rotation, so to speak, going. And the way things are currently are, I mean, we need to be a little further ahead than what we probably were accustomed to. And like any other manufacturer out there, we've been pretty spoiled in some years past, and this has helped us move 8-12 months further ahead of it to help the customer get that further ahead as well.
Yep.
Do you remember that deal you were telling me about where where your team was just taking pictures and keeping up what the customer's fleet was, and then how you were able to turn that competitive customer around?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Jason, because we really demonstrate that to show how much it does make it easier for the salesperson. Like our geographic area, we could drive 4 hours to go see one customer, right? Or to get to that area and see 15. So with the costs going up, if we have that information in there, then all of a sudden we come out with a quarterly program that we're going to go and target these. I mean, all we really need to do is update the hours and make sure nothing's been damaged, and we have all the information we need to go there and close a deal. Yeah.
So one of the biggest things about any of these systems, when you put them into place, I don't care how minor or how major it is trying to run a marshmallow through a granite wall. Some days it feels like it just, no matter how hard you push, it's not going anywhere, right? So I mean, what was this? I guess, when did you really feel like your team had bought into this process enough to where even the most, stringent holdouts said, like, you know what, this is worth me trying?
Well, unless you're Aaron Judge and you can get walked to the first base, you still have to hit the ball.
That's right. It's true.
So,
that's right.
I think what I was fortunate is I had a couple guys on my team realized how much it helped them improve their sales and grow their sales. And I'm not talking thousands, I'm talking millions.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get a couple guys like that, or a couple people like that on your team that take some way up the ladder in volume, I think other ones go, hey, how did you do that? And they just have a quick conversation. And I allowed that for one salesperson to talk to a few other salesperson to help them do what he was doing and give it a try, right? So, and I think the biggest thing for me was I really had to figure it out and lead the way as well. And if I'm doing it, then it's more funner, and we do it together. And Anvil helped us a lot tweak some things and make it easier. And we actually started with 3-4 things to move it all into one for them. And a lot of that did come from a couple of the guys that brought it to me, and then I brought it to Jason, and we made it work for them. So
yeah,
I remember, Jason, when we launched it, you had that comment where you challenged them to give me a week, do it for a week. And I don't know, what were you doing? Like, you remember that?
Yeah, we were doing some rewards. I mean, the guy that logs the most calls or has enters the most customer data, the strength in our database, increases their customer quality control, just little contests, and try to raise the level, right? Raise the bar. So
and then how much time do you think a team member or a salesperson spends on their visual pipeline board a day or a week? Is it
well, now the guys here, it's open all the time. They're
okay.
But I'm constantly, like, what I like about it is you can take a window snip and say, I could see a lot of stuff in negotiation. Let me know how I can help you move this or do that, right? I understand everybody gets busy and calls keep coming in and keeping it up, but my role is to support them, and I have a job to do too. And when I see that there, I need to engage and see what I can do to help them help us. Yeah.
One of your best ideas, one of your ideas that his team brought to the table was a little pop-up hover. So one of the 4 bits that he talked about there is the forge ahead. So it's a little play on the word anvil, but it's not focusing on what you've done, but focusing on what you got to do next.
Yeah.
So as you're trying to juggle 15, 20 deals, you capture, what have I got to do next? I got to do an evaluation. I got to deliver a quote, or I got to get the signed PO. And then you can just hover and it'll show you that note. It'll show you whatever you captured, to remind yourself just very quickly, 5-10 minutes a day, just looking at it. Oh, my next deal was I was going to do this.
Yeah.
And reminding yourself, and then Jason can see it as well. So if it's like a forage chopper deal and you need some money, or you're negotiating the trade value, you can see that right on the deal without having to click in or move around or do anything at all. So
yeah. And it I think everybody that's in sales is competitive, and they want to know the score, and which what I have found, right? So if you let them know, like this is a total AOR, and we have 3 guys doing, ag sales and that AOR, and you've got your strengths and experience and stuff. So you break it out, and so we developed home pages for each sales guy, so their total sales volume is on their home page, and their past year sales, so they can see if they're trending and what's happening. And so to your point, Jason, yeah, when they set a forage ahead task within the pipeline, it automatically carries that task to the date they set to come up on their home page. So when they start with their home page, they see their tasks today, and they says, oh yeah, I've got to get back to this customer regarding this tractor that's moved up in the system, and then it moves them to act on it, to keep moving it. So it's the accountability. Yeah, if there's any dealers out there that's, a lot of times they think it's micromanaging, but the more you sell, the more you should reward yourself by doing it. So if you forge ahead a task, remind you to talk to someone about a deal you're working with on, and you close the deal, well, the reward's there.
For
yes.
sure.
Speaking of that homepage, I remember what you were talking about up front was you used to make those in Excel. You used to go pull it together, and you would spend hours putting those together and then emailing them out to the team and telling them where they're at on their scorecard. And that became your homepage, which is just automated every morning now. So you've gained, hours a month back, or hours a quarter back, of just not having to send spreadsheets around.
Oh, in time consuming more for them, right? Like go through each thing, and then now it's they have it, I have it. There's no emailing back and forth as much. There's no phone callings back and forth. I mean, we don't eliminate talking and helping each other, but probably cut that load off in over 50%. So we have more time selling, talking with customers, strengthening the data, moving the pipeline to sold. That's what it's all about.
All the things that don't matter, right, Jason?
Yeah. not talking to me, wondering why this thing is still here or there, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. So I think the next kind of real question here too is, so I'm listening to this right now, and I'm a guy, and whatever. High performers are always the ones they go pick up a new tool, and they're gonna just be the high performer still. The 2 guys you were talking about there that came up the ladder, were they the highest performers on your team?
Yes. The very first year we got this tweaked. He was right there at the top, and then last year I had another top performer that really applied a lot of time and effort into his customers, his customer quality, his pipeline, his data, emailing, logging. Just very proud of what he accomplished last year. Yeah, so for sure.
Yeah.
So that's why I know it's working.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I know I'm a believer in it myself, is when I see them doing it, and I see them getting to the top. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was middle of the road, I believe, as he got started into this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a rope, right? I mean, you get busier, you get customers get a little more anxious, a little more wanting, it's tough for them, right? I mean, it's not as easy for them as it used to be either. So their planning needs help with planning. And when you're on that rope, you can either slide or you can climb.
Yeah.
There's only 2 ways to go. So he decided to climb.
Yeah. So I think the key factor here, when you start looking at pipeline development and how your pipeline pays off for your customer or for your salespeople, is that I'll never be able to do X because I don't have salesman A's customers. If I had salesman A customers, oh man, I'd be the richest guy in the company. And I think when you start talking to guys and really walking them through how to develop a pipeline and what that looks like, all of a sudden you start shining lights on, this guy, no one's called on this guy for a while. Or no one's calling this guy for a while. You haven't done that. And there's always a reason, he's a whatever, he only buys X, and he only comes to all he wants to buy is New Holland stuff. Like, well, he's got a New Holland, a John Deere, and a Fendt all in the same yard. I don't think he's only going to do this or only going to do that. There's a lot of assumptions that get baked into customers' perception, I think, from sales guys a little bit. How has this changed that mentality with your sales guys?
I think what I know is if you have a customer that's not doing really much business with you, I mean, it's something that you're either driving by them, you're not stopping in, you're not actively engaging to help both of us, right? So, I mean, and it's a communication key. And like I work with this team, and I'm saying, hey, you know what? We set every one of our customer accounts has a call frequency things that we can set, right? Some are monthly, some are quarterly, some are semi-annually. Someone that comes in that just buys a consumer riding lawnmower, that's obviously a semi-annual customer, and one that we're doing business with tons, like a dairy farmer or cash crop, that's a monthly thing, right? Where we're in with technology with an operations center. I mean, we're there monthly, but I think the key of it is communication, and the important thing sometimes is, we all want to sell, but sometimes it's just a conversation on how our things are going. How's the kids doing in school? How's the son doing at hockey this year? That's what's going to strengthen that customer to that quarterly conversation and get them into a monthly conversation. And I think we see a lot of that sometimes get forgotten. And this has allowed some guys to just make that call or just send that email. How are things going?
Yeah. You nailed it though, Casey, that some folks can just sell Eastern Eskimo and they don't need any help. But for the majority of us, there's a process. There's a way of doing it. There's a, sales pipeline 101 is out there, and it's everything that you guys just talked about. But helping do it the same way, having the tools that help. You think about how you use your phone day in and day out, and it's just how technology can take a solid technique, which is what sales is, but just allow you to repeat it time after time. And going back to Moneyball, that's exactly what they're doing there to get on base again. Mm-hmm. It's swing mechanics, it's pitching machines, it's how do you, doing tape. It's doing the basics. It's the blocking and tackling. But with technology, you can just do that consistently, do that reliably, get back to your customers, have the relationships that Jason just talked about, and take somebody who is a good salesperson and turn them great. And Jason's got those examples on his team of that, taking a good one and just making them great.
And I think what else is important too, those guys that are, well-established seasoned salespeople that have had a strong top line for 20, 30 plus years. We don't want them walking out the door and then it's all gone with the cell phone they've had or that notebook. I mean, companies to be sustainable, they have that information is theirs, and we've got to work with them to leave that with us, right? And thank them for everything they've done. But you give, you get, and the ship's still got to go on, right? So I think that's it's important, and it's the most important is to the customer,
right?
Because they're going to keep going, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or their son, or their daughter, or their grandchild. So
that's the other thing too. Is if salesman A retires and he goes off and moves to Arizona or whatever, all that information goes with him. Yeah. And the next guy coming in, even though you left on good terms and everything's fine, you're kind of starting over at square one with that customer. I mean, the company kind of knows what that relationship is and what how things kind of work and those kind of things. I mean, you've got 85% of the information, but that other 15% of the information that you're missing, that's really the important information that you need to know. And building that customer profile and what that looks like and how those things all flow together, it's bigger than how many cows you have, and it's bigger than, those kind of things, but it's just a bigger thing. All that information, is just a small little nugget in all that information as it flows together. So keeping that all in one place where not only me as a sales guy can see it, but my manager can see it and my marketing people can see it. And, my, even to some extent, even if you really need to understand some stuff, I mean, you start looking at all the functions and facets of the company. We start looking at parts and service and how all those things playing together. Now, all of a sudden, the guy shows up, I need a water pump for XYZ machine. Oh, well, it's just serial number break. I can't imagine how many parts out there have serial number breaks in them, because it seems like every one of them. And you go pull that machine up and it's sitting right there, and you can look at it and you can come across and go get the right water pump the first time, or order the right one the first time, whatever the situation is. All those things make a huge difference in the customer satisfaction of doing business at your dealership.
Yeah,
I know.
It's not a tool that some people may think, oh, they just want to know where I'm at today and think I'm not doing the job. And no, it's allowing you some freedom and some space to be out there. And then if a customer comes in, we can all help.
Right.
And
He's got examples of, it's not even just salespeople moving on. It's I saw there's a work order on the combine. Why don't I go try to trade him out of it? And seeing that visibility, or the CSR is seeing who called the call center and having those types of relationships there as well. So it's not only preserving the information for the next salesperson, it's leveraging just what the dealership knows. I like to say, just imagine if you knew what you already knew. The collective knowledge within the dealership, having that all coalesce together is powerful.
Very much. Very much. All right. So now you've got the system here, and you're really measuring what's going on there. How are you going to measure the success of a sales guy, right? It's not margin. I mean, obviously margin percent and those kind of things are going to come into place, but it's not total margin dollars, because not all territories are created equal, right? You don't have the same opportunities in every territory. But I mean, as you're looking through that, how are you using this to measure your success of your sales guys?
Just with growth, right? And growth is can be, are you gaining more accounts? Are you covering more of the areas, more business coming our way, or it allows us to focus on, do we order more of this? Do we order less of that? Do we need more this model versus that model? It helps us plan ahead the way the industry's kind of trending based on how the customers are either expanding or needing more horsepower. Maybe they need less tractors. So growth, I think, would be the key word there, right? And it's I don't think there's a company out there that doesn't want to grow. So in our industry, it's our growth is by customers.
For sure. And then probably lastly is, there's a lot of different tools and levers you can pull on this, but what's your most favorite part of the system?
There's some great things. I think it's just what I like the most about it. It allows the team to do what it is we're asking them to do a lot easier. You don't necessarily have to put in 14 hours a day. You manage your time and you manage your accounts, and it's a live system. You don't have to be at a desk. You don't have to be at a computer. You can do it with your iPhone. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So if you need to pick your kids up at school, or you need to go to the Christmas concert, you're there, right? So it's allowing us to move with the technology and the speed of it, and without tying hands.
Yeah, I'm going to answer that as well, just from working with them. It's just really rewarding to see the difference in their sales meetings and the meetings to the bosses and the managers and such, where, you started out almost, admin type focus, and then being able to move now we're talking about who's the next deal and how do we take care of this person. And, you're up 20% year over year, and you're having those types of conversations because it's visible. So you're not getting 20 people in a room and filling out a spreadsheet anymore. And meetings with the bosses. Here's my forecast. I know what it's going to be. So it's just taking some of that robot stuff away and just feeling it, like you said, tied to a desk. That's all gone now from the way you've been describing it to us. So that's cool. That's fun to watch.
Yeah, and speeds it up. Mostly for the customer, they know where it's at and they have an answer.
Yep.
Yeah.
They go ask 6 people for it. It's right there.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right.
I gotta be careful. I might not have a position because
automate your way out of a job, huh?
You know what? That's technology, and it should be made easier for everyone to do things. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Jason Hoult, do you have any final thoughts?
No, just thank you, Jason, for sharing your insight here. And, you've come a long way, and I don't think you'd want to go back to the way it was.
No. I'm actually looking forward to moving forward. I know we have some things in the anvil pipeline. We're going to be moving forward to order to cash and service requests, which is just going to make it easier for other departments. And so I'm really excited about that, Jason.
Yeah. Which I just want to highlight that to everyone, all of your listeners there, Casey, as well as we're continuing to work with our customers and grow over time. That's a secret to adoption, not trying to just do everything at once, but continual improvement, continual growth into that. There's the old saying, when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, it was actually 20 years ago, but if you can't do it then, let's do it today. Mm-hmm. And that's my request for interview. If you feel like you want to get to this point as well, reach us at sales@anvilapworks.com or reach out on any of the social, and we'd be happy to talk with you as well. But we are a partner with Prairie Coast and Jason, and we're proud of that, and we want to continue that type of growth. And if that's interesting to you, we'd love to talk with you about it.
Awesome. And Jason Nickel, if you want to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
My email is jnichol, JNICHOL @pce.ca.
PCE.ca, right? Okay. Right on. Okay. Well, fellas, I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me today. It was pleasure. I really enjoyed doing this, guys. Thank you very much.
Right on.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
It's been a fun conversation, so we'll do it again sometime. So with that, all right. Well, I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. Go to Moving Iron Podcast on LinkedIn and check out the video version of this on the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel, which is cleverly named YouTube version of that. It's just Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel. Check that out. So everything Moving Iron related, go to MovingIronLLC.com. So with that, with Jason and Jason, I'm Casey. Let's go move some iron, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century.